Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for another free virtual cooking class by Cooking Connection. I'm Chef Jose. I am from the Houston division in HEB, and I've been with the company 6 years. It's been the best 6 years of my life, I think, because I get to talk about food, I get to share my knowledge of food with customers and you guys that make this possible. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm joined here by Chef Charlotte Samuels. She's going to be our moderator today.
Hey there, everyone. If you guys have any questions about what Jose is doing, you can definitely hit us up in the chat. We'll be answering your questions in real time.
Thank you. So go easy on me now. But what are we celebrating today? It's a very special day coming up, Cinco de Mayo, right? So for those of you who are not really familiar with Cinco de Mayo or not really sure what it means, it is not Mexico's independence. It's actually a date for a very special battle, very important battle that happened in the city of Puebla in Mexico. A very young soldier from Mexico City, his name was Ignacio Zaragoza. He met with the French who arrived in Veracruz, and they met up in Puebla, and that's where they had this battle, which we now celebrate as a win, and we get to cook all this beautiful Mexican cuisine. So we have a really cool menu today that we're gonna be preparing together. Hopefully those of you who are doing it live with us can keep up, and I'll try to go slow. And like Chef Charlotte said, as the chat box is open for you guys, we'll be answering those live. So what do we have in the menu? We have a birria. If you guys are not familiar with birria, it's a slow-cooked beef. Traditionally, it's made with lamb. We're gonna be using beef today, so it's almost like a barbacoa style. With the lamb, you would have that gaminess in it. We're using beef shank today. We also in the menu have a charred, beautiful vegetable salsa. We're gonna be using our grill for that with this very special Asian fusion kick with our 5-spice Chipotle seasoning by Adams Reserve. And we have a very easy entertainment appetizer, a Gulf Coast Gazpacho. It's a shrimp in a tomato sauce with some fresh vegetables, Pico De Gallo, and lime. And last but not least, we're gonna be making some homemade flour tortillas.
I'm here for these tortillas. I'm super excited about these tortillas. I watched you make them earlier today, and I love the little story you said. You said something really special about how you hope your grandmother was watching so you could make the perfect tortillas.
Right, may she rest in peace. But you know, it brings me back to my childhood, and you know, sitting around that table with my aunts and my grandma, and just everybody making tortillas and tamales, and just very special. So hopefully we can connect with that today. Store-bought HEB tortillas are amazing. Southwest, mitad y mitad. We have the butter, we have the regular flour. Those are all amazing. We all eat them. If you have the time to make them, or if you want to do something special with your family, it's always a really cool thing to do, and it's very, very easy. It's about 5 ingredients.
Yeah, I was
So we're
shocked.
going to walk you through that today.
I was shocked watching you make them. They're super easy.
Super easy. So let's get started. We have like I said, a beef shank for our birria. We're going to be doing it in the Instant Pot. So if you want to do it in the slow cooker or in the stovetop, you can do it as well. I would sear all of the ingredients and the meat, put it in the Instant Pot, use it, set it on low for 8 hours or overnight. You can do it on high for about 5 hours if you wanted something faster. Not everybody has a pressure cooker, so if you do have a slow cooker at home, if that's something you feel more comfortable using, you can definitely use that, and I can repeat the instructions afterwards because it's easier to kind of see it once we do the process. Yeah. And then we can talk about it again. On other options, doing it on the stovetop, doing it in a slow cooker. Yeah. As well. So I have my Instant Pot set to saute, and I've went ahead and added some canola oil, about a tablespoon. And you want to get that really nice and hot, especially if you are not using, anytime you don't use a non-stick skillet. You want to get the pan as hot as you can because if not, the meat will stick. So if you're doing chicken, if you're doing fish, I have this problem with fish because it's so you know, delicate. Flaky, delicate. So you have to get that pan very, very searing hot so that way your meat doesn't stick. So I'm gonna let that heat up for just a couple of minutes.
Super good advice.
Yeah, I had to learn the hard way. So
yeah, trial by fire. I think we all have. I think I've thrown away pans. Real true story that I've just like stuff got stuck to them, and then you know.
Yeah, it's definitely not fun.
I just said that. All those people heard me say that I threw away pans.
So why are we using the bone-in shank? The bone adds flavor to whenever you're slow cooking, whenever you're doing a soup. If you want to just take your bones and make your own broth at home, that's what's holding a lot of that flavor in it. So that's going to be amazing in your pressure cooker today. So you want to use a bone-in beef cut, but you want to use a tough cut of the cow. So think of like the muscles that the cow uses the most. So like the shank, the skirt part of the steak, like a chuck roast you can use.
Perfect.
So any of those tougher cuts of meat. I cannot fit all 4 of these pieces in my Instant Pot, so I'm gonna do it in pieces. Do it in 2 batches. So you're gonna hear all that sizzle.
Oh yeah.
In your Instant Pot, and that's what I love about, because I used to use the slow cooker a lot before, but you have to like saute all your stuff on the side because it doesn't get to that hot heat that you want. You know, so in this one in the pressure cooker you can get it up to that temperature that you want. You can see all your veggies or whatever you're doing to do as a base for a soup. I made a Toscano soup in it one time. It was amazing. Just do it all in once.
Right.
Something that you have to be careful is before you open it, you have to let all the steam naturally release, because I had like a soup puddle at my house. Whenever you you don't let that release all the steam, and you try to just get ahead of it, it's gonna go everywhere. So just be very careful with that. So I have the meat. It's gonna be about 3 to 4 minutes on each side.
Okay.
So while that's going very fast, I'm going to I have some peppers, right? We're gonna start with our peppers for the, if you're looking at your birria recipe, we have some guajillo peppers and we have some arbol peppers. So arbol, you wanna think of like cayenne as far as the heat level.
Okay.
Let me find my tongs. So if you wanna do a little bit more or a little bit less, the recipe calls for 2 ancho chilies. I'm gonna do 3.
Okay.
Because I like a little bit more spicy. For your dried peppers, the guajillo peppers.
Yeah.
If you've never used dried peppers like this, they look kind of scary because you're like, you just use them like that. Don't have to do anything to them. And what you have to do is rehydrate them a little bit, So I have some actually in my pot right over here. So I'm gonna walk over so you guys can see. And this is the recipe says to let it simmer for about 15 minutes. But you can just bring it to a boil, turn it off, drop your peppers, and just let them sit until they rehydrate. So either way, if you don't want to worry about watching it, like I was doing something else, I had this off, I had to let it sitting there. So now we have our peppers ready to go.
You said that's the way your mom does it.
Yeah, the way my mom she does it, she just leaves it and she does everything else. So that's the way I'm gonna do it. That's not my recipe, so maybe somebody else did it the other way, So what we're gonna do is add your peppers. Once you have them, I'm gonna give you guys time to let them soak also, but I'm just gonna put these in my blender.
Okay. And so you took the stems off of them, right?
Yeah, so just take the stems off. The seeds are okay. They're not as spicy as it would be for a fresh pepper.
Okay.
And like anytime you use dried chilies, that's like in your mole sauce, or if you do any type of salsa with it, you're gonna see those seeds sometimes in there, and that's okay. So,
I love the way a dried chili gives like an earthy.
Yeah,
like
I always think of like
flavor.
plummy, kind of smoky.
Yeah.
Like it's just so good. Like if you have like a raw, and all this is a poblano pepper that's been dried, right?
Yeah.
Or so. It's just amazing all that flavor development that it creates. So, and there's endless combinations of peppers that you can do. There's like pasilla, when you do mole, you use like 3 or 4 different of those dried peppers. It's amazing. My favorite thing to do is do cactus.
Okay.
I grew up eating a lot of cactus, so we would boil the cactus, chopped up, and let it get tender, and then we will make a sauce using the same, combination of different peppers. And just like saute and just let them kind of simmer in that sauce. It was just so good. So that's something that it reminds me of a lot. So we have our meat searing here. This one's about ready. So like I said, I'm doing this in batches. So I'm gonna take this out and just put it on a plate on the side. Look how cute this plate is.
I know,
you
right?
can find this at HEB in the general merchandise area. It's by Cocina Wares. It's actually an HEB item, and they're super cute. They have a whole line of them.
Is it terracotta or is it plastic?
Yeah, it's a plastic plate, so you have to worry about like breaking. It's like the hard plastic.
Yeah, like melamine kind of thing. Yeah.
So I'm getting the meat out of the pot. I'm gonna add my second batch. And we're kind of multitasking here. So if you guys are cooking at home, you know, feel free to ask any questions in between.
So, what about oxtails? Have you made like birria? Like, could you do it with oxtails? Could you do it with like?
I think it will work as well. It's a tougher cut of meat, so I think it'll work. And it's got the bone in it also, so it'll work perfectly.
All that flavor.
Yeah, imagine that in it.
Right?
It'd be amazing.
So when we were talking about the birria earlier, you were talking about roasting tomatoes. You were saying that you could use like canned roasted tomatoes, or you could use fresh roasted tomatoes. Yeah.
So that's the next thing in the to make the sauce in the birria. You need some roasted tomatoes, right? So if you go to HEB, you can find your organic, your regular fire roasted tomatoes. You just open up the can, you're ready to go. Use it for pastas or anything. But if you have the time to do it at home, or even if you do it in the oven, 400 degrees, about 25 minutes, let them roast beautifully. I'm gonna do them on the grill today, so we can get that charred flavor in our salsa. So some of these tomatoes are gonna be for our salsa today. Some of the tomatoes are gonna be for the birria sauce. So here I have all my vegetables ready for the salsa. I have some tomatoes. I've went ahead and halved those. I quartered my onions. I have some fresh cilantro, and I have some jalapeños. I just chopped the ends off of the jalapeños, and I left the seeds in them. We can de-seed them afterwards once we grill them. If you want to leave the seeds in it, it's gonna be more spicy, so it's totally up to you. Let me go ahead and flip my last two pieces of the meat.
So I really love this. I love how the flavors and the ingredients of that charred salsa, so that 5 spice, right, that has a little bit of that anise and that clove, cinnamon thing going on, like marry with the flavors and like the spices of the birria. So like you wouldn't normally think, right, like this 5 spice salsa, you're like, well, that's kind of a fusion kind of interesting thing, but like they're very similar and they complement each other very well. Like I really like how you paired these two items together. Yeah,
and I really love like fusion, because like in Indian, for example, they use a lot of cumin, and then we use a lot of cumin in Mexican cuisine, so it's just, you know, really easy to kind of put together. But the perfect way to kind of fuse the Chipotle 5 spice with all these Mexican flavors is because, like you said, it's got the cinnamon, it's got the clove, it's got the Szechuan peppercorn. So that spice and that kind of aromatic sweetness, it just goes beautiful together along with our meat.
So the Szechuan peppercorn is like the super, like, it's the one that has that tingly thing going on in the palate, right?
Yeah, that one is so good.
Into it. I love Szechuan peppercorn. There's a name for it, and I don't know what it is. I can't remember.
Yeah, you probably had like a Szechuan like sauce that has it in it, you know? But like,
so good.
It's so good. So I'm taking out my last 2 pieces of the meat. And you're just gonna set this aside. We have the grill. If you wanna do it on the grill with us, for those of you that are watching this later, you can go outside and do it. But I'm gonna take all of my veggies
over to the grill. Did you
grill.
oil those veggies at all?
No, that's a good question. It's a great question, because what are we doing when we're adding extra oil? You're adding extra flame to the grill, right? That you don't want, because you might get that burn flavor on your food that you don't want, the burnt oil, you know. So just dry, beautiful, juicy vegetables. That's all you need.
Perfect. And then we have a question from one of our viewers. If you were going to use lamb, what cut of lamb would you use for this?
I would do like a leg of lamb, or the shank. Yeah, that would work perfectly. It's a tougher meat. It's a tougher part of the meat.
It'll be great for like that pressure cooking.
Yeah, and you don't even have to like quarter it. Like, you know, it can be in large portions, like we're doing the shank today. So you know, you can get those portions that it comes in, and just do it like that. So you don't have to worry about
And the same spices and everything, right?
Yeah.
Just perfect.
Yeah, it'll just add the lamb just adds that extra gaminess, and I love lamb. I'm obsessed with it. So I would definitely do the lamb. It just adds that gamey flavor. I just keep saying that word like, but you know what it is.
I do.
Just like,
yeah.
It reminds me of like the zoo, like the gamey, like just very yummy. So
I know exactly what you're saying.
I can't think of words sometimes to use.
I can never think of the word that I need like in the moment, so it happens.
Okay, so all of these vegetables will take about 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
The cilantro, we're gonna go ahead and grill it also just because we're already grilling everything else. But that'll take about 15 seconds.
Okay.
So you're just gonna take the bunch. Actually, I'm gonna do it with my hand because it's a little bit easier. I have my grill on to about a medium to medium high. I'm just gonna set my cilantro on here. So anything that you grill, you're adding that depth and flavor. You're adding that char. You're adding anything you want to use vegetables on. You can grill them up, toss them in. If you're doing think of like a primavera pasta with that charred flavor in it.
Yeah.
See, so the cilantro, you have to be very careful. I smelled it and it's amazing. Just that charred cilantro smell.
I've never grilled cilantro or roasted it, so this is a new thing for me that I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it at home.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like cilantro. I love cilantro. I use it on everything, and just the char of it, it just brings it to it's all about layers.
Yeah.
When you're cooking, so just adding that's one layer that we're gonna taste on our tacos later. It's just all gonna come together. And a lot of times, one of the questions that I get a lot from customers at the store is that, why doesn't it taste like yours when I go home? But, it's all about taking that time. It's all about taking, your time to prepare everything before you start your cooking, because it can throw off your cooking times. So, mise en place, just get everything in ready.
Right? We talk about mise en place a lot.
Yes.
Everything in its place.
I actually considered once in my life getting a tattoo of that, mise en place. I don't know. I think it just applies to a lot of my life.
You should.
You
should. Everything in its place. So I really like that you were talking about layering flavor, because we talk about that a lot in some of these classes, and roasting meats or searing the meats, right? So we seared the meat for the birria for the Maillard reaction and to get that the caramelization, that kind of stuff. We're roasting the vegetables to add another level of flavor. And I think that that bitter charness, charness, is that a word? Anyway, the charred flavor of those vegetables goes really well with some of the acidity of the tomatoes and stuff. It's gonna be delicious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what a lot of home cooks miss is, or don't think about, is the importance of flavor that you're actually adding to your food with, like you said, charring, or even if you were to sear your fish instead of baking it. Baking doesn't add a lot of that flavor unless you broil at a really high heat.
Right.
But just searing in a pan, adding all that beautiful crust and that just another layer of flavor into it. So we're gonna flip our tomatoes. I know the recipe calls for large tomatoes. I'm using Roma tomatoes because that's what we had here. But the only difference, the Roma tomatoes are a little juicier, so those are better for sauces. They're better for if you're doing a salad. So a little bit of extra liquid will not hurt what we're doing today. You might just have some extra. I know a lot of customers are used to using Roma tomatoes. It's kind of like the go-to tomato, I think.
I use them a lot. I also get flavor bombs.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
Right?
I love grape tomatoes, and I just started using heirloom tomatoes recently. There's such a world of tomatoes out there.
Do you grow tomatoes? Do you have a garden?
No, I wish.
I don't have a garden.
That's my goal one day.
Okay.
After my tattoo.
I was gonna say after your tattoo.
So you can see the beautiful grill mark. You can see all those juices coming out of your tomatoes. Like I said, that's extra juice, but it's not extra oil that is gonna create more flames and burn everything. So that's okay. The extra juice is just gonna evaporate. And I'm just gonna flip these up. So what we're gonna do after this is we're gonna puree everything in the Vitamix that we have here. So your cilantro, your tomatoes, your onions. And it just depends on how your fire is working. Like sometimes it's good on one side or the other side. But here I filled up this whole half, and I might just take out the tomatoes first in a couple minutes and leave the onions because they're a little bit more starchy and rootier, or so they're gonna take a little bit longer. So what this is going, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and take my tomatoes out, and I'm gonna leave my onions on here while I'm doing the next step. So
okay,
you can see actually.
Look at the steam coming off those guys.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Beautiful. And then like you can see the skin kind of start getting wrinkly and delicious. So
we have another question from one of our viewers from Sandy. She wants to know white to onions or red or yellow. This is the same question I asked you, the preference of white. Does it make a difference?
I love that question. I get that question every single day.
I love it. Okay, we want to know. What's our onion preference?
That doesn't mean I have an answer, but I'm just kidding. No, so yeah, white onions are more like you go to. They're not extra sweet like yellow tomatoes are. Red tomatoes are a little bit more crisp, so they're perfect for salads, for raw uses.
Yeah.
Ceviche, I use it in my ceviche. Yellow onions, if you want to add a little bit of sweet hint to it. So I use that when I do like saute, like I want to leave them on the pan a little bit longer and kind of caramelize.
Ooh.
Beautiful.
Okay.
White onions, kind of go to, like, if you're not sure which one to use, go to your white onion.
Okay.
That's like your one to use. So I do a lot of white onions too. So it'll be perfect for this recipe. Kind of just blend all the flavors together, marry them all together.
Okay, so I always use yellow onions. Yellow is my go-to, and now I'll throw in some white onions in the mix, and I'll let you know how I feel, what I think.
Thank you. I'll appreciate that feedback. Okay, so what's our next step? We have those on the grill. We have the peppers are in there. We're gonna get the Vitamix ready for, actually, let me take this out. Because we're gonna wait on this sauce. And we're gonna do the vegetables next. So I'm just gonna set these aside. And I'm gonna get my grilled tomatoes in here. And you can literally see the difference, on a raw tomato, and like, would you rather eat a raw tomato or this beautiful?
It's so beautiful.
Beautiful thing.
And I feel like the char, it also, and like when you cook a tomato, it softens it in the sense that like it softens its flavor.
Yeah.
And it becomes sweeter and less like acidic.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see if the onions these are big chunks, so they might take a little longer. The smaller leaves, smaller pieces, you can take them out. Leave the larger ones there. Do you want spicy salsa or not spicy?
Yes, super
salsa?
spicy.
Okay, it's spicy. So I'm gonna leave the seeds in it.
I want to like melt my face off.
Okay, I got you, girl.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave those there for just a couple minutes. And
So what's going back into our Instant Pot?
So we have we have our onion. We have our spices are next. We have some bay leaves. We have some cinnamon sticks.
Okay.
We have some Mexican oregano. And we have some cumin and we have some cloves.
Okay.
And that's all in the recipe. You can see it, all the measurements, if you don't have it in front of you. What we're gonna do is chop our onion and we're gonna saute all of our seasonings along with the onion. So this is something that I learned from cooking Indian cuisine, because they do this as their base for everything.
Okay.
They take their yellow onions, they're chopped. They take their cumin, their garam masala. They take their spices that they're using, cumin, and just let them like saute there until they're like beautiful caramelized,
Yeah.
but with all those spices also like infused into the onions. It's amazing.
I'm telling you, this onion thing is a new thing for me, like using white or yellow onions. I just always buy yellow onions. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start using white onions.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends, I guess, like what you're used to. I grew up eating nothing but white onions, so. I'm sure Chef Scott covered how to cut an onion last time, right?
I think we do it all the time. And actually, if you would like to see a great video on how to cut an onion, you can go to youtube.com/HEB and check it out. There's like a 30-second video, and there's a whole bunch of different things on like how to cut an avocado and a pineapple and all those really cool things. Okay, so you talked about the Mexican oregano. And we briefly talked about this earlier. So like the difference between like a Mexican oregano and like Mediterranean oregano or Greek oregano, like why would I choose one or the other, or what's the difference?
So you probably, if you put them side by side, you'll definitely know which one's which, because Mediterranean oregano has more of a like thymy, like herby flavor.
Okay.
Whereas like the Mexican oregano has a lighter flavor. It's very mild. It doesn't
Okay.
have that like, you know, when you think of like the oregano, Mediterranean oregano might remind you of like a pasta sauce. You know, very like
Yes.
that,
Like
herb,
Italian
you know?
dressing. Like
Yeah.
dressing.
Whereas the Mexican oregano, it just has a more mild, like more herby, like more. It's closer to like cilantro, like
Okay.
thyme flavor.
Yeah, that's cool.
So and it's actually like pretty close to thyme too, where you can kind of interchange it if you had to. But I went ahead and kept the same pot that I used to sear my meat, because I have all those brown bits in the bottom, and that's all flavor. That's what you want, right? So you just want to make sure that you're stirring it all often, so that way you can scrape all of those pieces off.
The fond, that's the French culinary term for
what?
The fond, F-O-N-D.
A fond.
That's the French culinary term for the delicious brown bits at the bottom of the pan.
I just call it the delicious brownness at the bottom.
I also call it the delicious brown bits at the bottom.
Well, I already started doing this, but I'm gonna very quickly do this onion so I can show you guys real quick, and then I'm gonna throw it in there. But I just start with my hand flat on top of it. I'm just gonna make lines on the onion. It's a half onion that I cut the ends off of, and you're gonna go across. You're leaving just the end of it intact, so that way it can stay. It doesn't fall apart on you. So you just go almost all the way, and then you're gonna go across this way. Wash your fingers. And the lines on the onion is gonna help you kind of, chop itself. So then you go back this way, and you have this beautiful, small,
Look at that.
hopefully uniform pieces of onion.
Well, I mean, produce is not perfect, so it's okay if it looks a little...
Now I use my the fryer cutter thing. The chopper that it just makes everything into little squares.
Right?
Yeah, so went ahead and added the next onion, and we're gonna also toast our seasoning. So we have our cinnamon stick, our oregano, clove, and our cumin. And we have some fresh bay leaves. If you have dried bay leaves, it's totally fine to use. They're easier to use because they keep longer. And also, I'm gonna stir this up. They keep longer, but also they're more potent whenever they're dried.
So you use 2 fresh bay leaves. Would you use less dry bay leaves in the recipe, or can you just do it like it all depends on, because they're kind of more intense, right?
So bay leaves is not like super intense to where like you're gonna, for you to add too much cinnamon to something, you're gonna definitely taste that. But the bay leaf is just kind of like the added hint of flavor.
Yeah.
So if you were to do 2 or 3, it'll be okay. Like you might taste it a little more, but it's not gonna be overpowering. It's just kind of like the finishing, reminiscing flavor that you get from it.
Okay.
And that's why it's left whole, because you want to pull it out once you've taken all your flavor off of it. Like you see it in gumbo sometimes.
Yeah.
You have it in your gumbo.
I heard that in gumbo, if you get the bay leaf, you have to do the dishes. I was about to tell you, Chef, your Instant Pot turned off while we were cooking.
Thank you. I
While we
just
were
realized that
talking.
because I'm like, this is not cooking. So it's okay. We have, I'm going to leave this here for a few minutes. If you're doing it along with this, it'll take no more than 5 minutes. Just as long as your onions are translucent, then you're ready to go. So, but while this is going, we're going to finish the sauce that is going to go in here along with the shank.
Okay.
So what we have is our, is there another Vitamix here?
Right behind you, Chef,
Okay.
on the back wall. I have all the blenders.
I know, I see
I have
that.
all the blenders.
And I have them all in use, so I have to find a new one. Okay, so we have our onions here. We pull them off of the grill.
So after you blend up this salsa, like how long would it keep, you think? Like in the refrigerator?
I would say maybe a week to a week and a half.
Okay.
It does have lime juice in it. Lime is a natural,
Yeah.
acid, so it'll preserve it a little bit longer too. So I would say maybe a week.
There's no substitute for fresh salsa. Like none. Like jarred, I can't, like
Yeah.
fresh salsa is worth
and
it.
it's so easy,
Yeah.
to build those layers on your own. So we're gonna go ahead and add our dried peppers in the pot, and this is gonna be again the sauce that is going into our birria Instant Pot pressure cooker. So we have our chilies. We're gonna take some roasted tomatoes also. I did this earlier, so I just I left those for the salsa, but it's about a cup of roasted tomatoes.
Okay. So those dried chilies also really give it that like that broth, that consomme, that rich red color.
Yeah, that like it's hard to explain, but I think like plummy and like just very like smoke. It's almost
Yeah.
like a smoky like fruity flavors. It's
Yeah.
just amazing how much flavor like develops from the dry of the peppers. Okay, so we have half a cup of chicken broth with your tomatoes, your peppers, and the lime juice. Garlic, I think it calls for 3. I like garlic, so if you do 5.
Right? We
It's
were taught
okay.
like Tompkins and I always say some. Just put some garlic in
Some
it.
garlic.
You know, some people like a little, some people like a lot.
Honestly, I have a secret. Every time like I buy a bulb of garlic and I have to use it for a recipe, I just use the whole thing. Like because I don't want to leave it there.
I like
I feel
it.
like it just ends up going dry and
Yeah.
So I use it up and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So a little bit of extra garlic is not gonna ruin your dish. Let's just say that.
It won't. It won't. It's just we're layering more flavors.
This flavor, it's amazing. Can you smell that cumin and that
can.
oregano? It's just like,
Yeah.
and that cinnamon.
I can
Just
smell
amazing.
the grilled jalapenos.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
That's our next thing. But this is ready basically, so we're gonna blend it up. It just needs about 10 seconds, just for it to be all incorporated. So how many layers do we have so far? We have our peppers, the smoked peppers, the plummy and that we talked about. We have our searing of our spices and our onions.
Yes.
We have the searing of our meat. We're building all these layers
Right.
of flavor, so that's very important that's what you have to think about when you're cooking something. You want to create those, take the extra time. It's marinating your chicken breast, because a lot of people tell me, I don't taste my chicken when I cook it, or it doesn't taste like I want it to. But if, putting a seasoning on it is different than marinating it and just let those flavors
Yeah.
build together. So I love that
Ooh.
flavor. That smells so good.
Feel all that steam.
And I'm gonna put this aside. So now we are ready to go. Our onions are translucent and delicious. You can leave the cinnamon stick in there and the bay leaves. If you don't have a cinnamon stick, it's kind of like a bay leaf too. You're gonna pull it out afterwards, and you
Yeah.
already took all your flavor out of it. It's intensified when you have ground cinnamon because you're actually adding the bark,
Yeah.
that's been ground up. So you're gonna be more into. But if you have some at home, you would start with like half a teaspoon, I would think, because it's a little bit
Yeah.
stronger. Half a teaspoon. You can add a little more if you want. So.
I'm with you on the cinnamon stick as opposed to the actual ground cinnamon. You can sort of control how much cinnamon flavor
Right.
is in there, and also like it's more subtle.
So that's
I
the
agree.
difference. Like recipes that do call for that stick that you're gonna remove.
Yeah.
Like arroz con leche, right?
Yeah.
We always do all the cinnamon sticks in it, and I love like just.
That's
like,
one of my favorites.
So good, and you get the hint of your cinnamon in it now. You don't have
Yeah.
if you were to stir in the ground, then you might taste it a little bit more. But
I wish we made that.
I know next time with
Next time.
our pressure
Our
cooker
Instant Pot,
class.
yeah.
So everything is in here. We're gonna season it at the end to taste a little because we already added salt to the meat.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and add a little salt to it.
Scott Tompkins would be proud of this moment.
Is there pepper? So I can add some?
There's pepper on the other side, chef, right by the blender.
This?
Yes, you could definitely use that obscene, crazy, like absurd pepper grinder.
It's a little pepper.
More pepper, please. Yep, keep going. Yep, more pepper.
Tell me when to stop. Okay. So if you guys are cooking this along with us, if the recipe says 45 minutes for an Instant Pot recipe or pressure cooker, it's going to take an hour and 15 minutes
Yeah.
because of the time that it takes to warm up and to go up to the temperature. So we're going to set this to 45 minutes, pressure cook. There you go. And I'm going to set it aside and just let it cook while we work on the next thing, which is our delicious salsa. Does anybody have any questions so far in the chat? I don't know if I'm going too
We've
fast.
been doing them as
or-
we've been going. You're doing pretty good. You're answering them like
Before they even ask them, right?
pretty good.
Okay, so we have our salsa here. So what I mentioned earlier, the special seasoning in the salsa is our Chipotle 5-spice by Adam's Reserve. So is that on the counter or like this? Oh, here it is. Adam's Reserve 5-spice Chipotle seasoning. It's got the aromatics, it's got the spice, the heat. So this has salt in it. So you don't want to add any more salt. If you want to add
Okay.
salt without the heat that this adds, you can do to taste. You can add a little bit more salt to it without the seasoning. So it's up to you. I like spicy. I want spicy,
I like
right?
spicy too.
Okay, we want spicy today. And some lime, right?
Yes.
So now we have what? We have our charred vegetables, that layer of flavor. We have our Szechuan peppercorns and that layer of flavor. I wish I had do it by hand because I like chunky salsa.
Okay.
So I had a molcajete right
you
now.
do? So
I
I
would
like it
just-
more smooth. I wish we had a molcajete.
Yeah.
It's like
I love a chunky Are you a crunchy peanut butter or a smooth
crunchy peanut butter.
Yeah.
But I will eat really any peanut butter, but yes, crunchy peanut butter.
I love crunchy peanut butter. But it's the honey peanut butter from Healthy Living at HEB.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Is that what
that's
you
my
like?
favorite. Yeah. I just wish it was crunchy. We're gonna stir it around a little bit. There you go. If I had some of those soaked peppers, the chilies, you could have had. If you have extra at home, you can just let those soak for a minute and add some of that, those dried peppers, the guajillos or the arbol, and it'll add that kind of smoke flavor on top of our layer that we created with our grill.
So while you were blending, I looked up the compound that gives you that tingly feeling from the Szechuan peppercorn, and it's called hydroxy alpha sanshool. And I'm pretty sure I said that so wrong, but I Googled it. So It's a thing, and I like it. It has that like, you have that like
So it's a
feeling in
real
your mouth.
thing. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Okay,
I wasn't
cool.
making it up.
Okay, our salsa is ready. We're gonna set it aside. And now we're gonna start on our appetizer. Very easy, very simple to put together. If you have some company coming over and you need an easy entertainment dish, HEB Produce has a really easy item to use. Pico de Gallo, chopped peppers, onions, tomatoes. They're done ahead of time for you. I'm gonna put one of those in my bowl.
I buy that pretty much once a week. It's so easy.
And these two things remind me of that. I used to make a salad a lot with feta. Literally just English cucumbers, which are the best thing ever.
Yes.
Because you're not chewing for 2 hours like when you eat regular cucumbers. If you don't peel them, you have that chewy like.
They wax them. They put like a wax on.
Yeah, and they're waxy.
I'm with you on that.
So these are just amazing. Like, so I'm gonna chop it up. I like to go lengthwise. Half. Look at those little tiny seeds. Like the regular cucumbers have a lot more seeds that you have to dig through. So these are actually really easy to de-seed because all you do is go very on the top of it like this. Once you've quartered it, you have no more seeds.
So do you think we could use like mango pico de gallo in that gazpacho? Would that be good?
I think that would be amazing.
Okay.
It would just add a little bit more like tropical flavor, I think. Take this away. Or even, this is a mild pico, but if you want to do a spicy one, you can do spicy. Or you can do a little bit of extra like hot sauce afterwards. So I just take the seeds off of them, and what I'm gonna do is, I like to make thin strips like this. If it's easier, you can also cut it in half like this and just cut them. I do this with squash, I do it with zucchini, cucumbers, and then you just go and chop up.
Did you have to chop a lot of vegetables when you were working with your dad?
I think it was mostly, I butterflied all the chicken breasts in the world for fajitas. Like that was the thing. And at first, I used to work with my father in a catering company. That's how I started my my love for food. It was a combination of Food Network and like working at a job that I didn't know that I wasn't like. I was just kind of doing it for the money, and then now I'm here, you know, with amazing people like all of you guys.
How it started?
Yeah.
How it's going?
I would just butterfly chicken breast for fajitas, and we wouldn't do a lot of vegetables, thankfully. It was just all the chicken breasts that you can think of. I guess that's the main thing that I can remember, because I hated it so much. But now I can butterfly a chicken breast with my eyes closed.
Right.
I hope.
I remember like when first jobs I had, it's like, we need you to chop this entire pallet of onions. And you're like, okay.
Oh, no.
Or like having to peel all the potatoes or something.
Not onions. Was it yellow onions or white onions?
You're funny. Red onions, actually, they would get in those like 50-pound bags of onions, and we'd have to peel off all the like papery like outer stuff, and then peel them and then put them in giant bins in the walk-in.
That's how it's crazy like to hear stories like that because that's what we all start, to hear chefs that started as dishwashers and work their way up. So I think everyone appreciates those stories, and to see how we become,
Right.
So I like to bunch up my cilantro. How do you feel about stems?
So I don't mind them. I don't mind the stems. I think that they're tender and they have flavor and they don't bother me. I'm good with them. You?
Yeah, I like them. They actually have more flavor than the actual leaf. So especially if I'm blending like for chimichurri sauce or if I'm doing some sort of cilantro, in my sauce, I like to leave the stems because those have so much flavor. that you usually don't get to taste because you're cutting them out when you're throwing them off. So you can put them in like our gazpacho that we're doing today. I just like to not do the whole stems, just maybe half of them.
Okay.
And you have to make sure that you cut them very, very, very small. So that way you don't have those big chunks.
I love cilantro and I can't get enough of it. I put it in
I love
lots of
cilantro.
things. It's my
I'm
favorite.
obsessed. Did you know that cilantro is like comes from coriander? Like coriander is the seed of the cilantro. A lot of people don't know that, you know? 'Cause they get confused.
We talked about it the other day on one of our classes. I actually asked Scott Tompkins if he knew that. He didn't know that. No.
That's a first.
I'm kidding. I can't remember. I hope he's not watching. Is he watching?
Okay, so all we have is our 8 ounces of cooked shrimp in here, 32 ounces of Clamato.
So if you wanted to use a different, like, could we do crab instead of shrimp? Could we do crab and shrimp?
Yeah.
Okay.
Crab, shrimp. You can do, if you wanted to do like ceviche style,
Yeah.
you could just put the lime juice in the fish sitting on its own so that it'll cook the fish for 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then throw everything else in it.
Okay.
Cilantro, your pico. If you do the pico with the raw fish, it might not cook it all the way.
Yeah.
So you want to just make sure that you do it with the lime itself and the fish, and then you can add everything else to it. But crab, you can even do like squid. You can do octopus.
Okay.
All of those things get cooked by the lime. You know,
Yeah.
it's actually a. I was trying to like research about it because I'm like, so is it cooked or not cooked? Because I wasn't sure. So it's actually a cooked ceviche is a cooked item, but it's not from the. It's not cooked by heat. It's cooked by
the acid, right?
By the acid, you know. So a lot of people are like weird about it. So got my spoon and just gonna.
That looks so pretty.
So good. I just want like a thin cracker and just like
Okay.
a little avocado on top.
So,
And-
if I didn't want to use Clamato, could I use a different, like, could I use V8? Could I use tomato juice? Could I use some of that salsa? I mean, or does it have to be Clamato?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Clamato, all it is a tomato juice cocktail.
Yeah.
So V8, that's what you have available. They even have some flavor ones that you can use too if you wanted a different taste. So
Okay, so tell me what you're doing right now.
I'm gonna go ahead and plate this since it's ready, and you guys are probably waiting on that, and you have hungry people at home.
Yeah.
A cute way to do it: get some Tajin from your produce department at your HEB. Put it in a plate, a little lime, and we're just gonna dip it. So that Tajin. I usually do this with my drinks. Today we're gonna do it with our appetizer.
What kind of drinks?
We'll talk about it
Margarita
after
drinks,
class.
tequila drinks.
And just get some sliced avocado right on top, some Tabasco.
Ooh.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one for you, one for me.
Okay.
Very quickly so we can get to our tortillas.
That's really what I'm here for.
Because I'm saving the best for last.
Okay.
I'm so excited. It's such a...
I'm really excited about the tortillas. So I've made them before a couple of times, and I get discouraged because when I roll them out, they look like the United States of America. Or Lucky Charms. They're all shapes and sizes.
And that's okay because they probably still taste amazing.
Well, yeah, probably. No, they're probably not as good as your tortillas, but I want to see your technique. I'm here for it.
Okay, so now we have, we're almost to the end of it. We have our salsa made. We have our birria in the Instant Pot. We have our appetizer ready. So our tortillas, very, very easy. Like I said, if you have the time to make them, it's definitely worth it at home. Like it's HEB's tortillas from the bakery. They're amazing, super easy to grab. This adds a little bit more, exciting to you if you want to look for something for your family to do. So I have 2 cups of flour in a bowl. I like to use a deep, kind of wide bowl because we're gonna be kneading the dough for a little bit before it comes together. So I'm just like winging these around. A cup. The easy way to, or best way to measure out like dry ingredients is don't pack it. Don't go like this because it's like not accurate. You know, it's if you're doing cooking like this, it's okay. But if you're doing baking, you have to be very careful with the way you measure because a little bit of extra or packed flour, it'll actually be more than what you need or not enough. So I like to go into, and it's better if you have it in like a container so you're not digging in on your bag, but just go around or fill it up a little bit more than what it fills, and then just take a knife or spatula and just level it off. And you have a more accurate flour measurement. So baking powder, a teaspoon, and about a teaspoon of salt. And then the last ingredient is, let me turn my water on.
Okay.
It's very important to, another recipe calls for warm water. But the hotter the water is, honestly, it'll help your tortillas be more pliable, and it'll help them be more soft, and you won't have a crispy tortilla. So I literally watch my grandmother get boiling water off of the pot and dump it in here, and I would just freak out because she will go at it with her bare hands. But if you want to start like with the spatula, that's totally okay, and it's probably the best thing to do if it's your first time. So because you're gonna be putting in the boiling water, so just get a spatula, stir it up until it's hot, cool enough to handle.
Okay.
So half a cup of shortening. And if you guys have made like a pie crust before or some biscuits, same thing. You're doing is you're cutting the fat into the flour. And they have like those fancy cutters that you can use.
Yeah.
I've used like a fork before too. If you want to, it kind of cuts it into it. But if you just use your hands, it's actually an easier way to know when your mixture is ready, because here, the camera can see it. What it does is actually you're able to kind of mix it into it a little bit better.
And so like biscuits or pie dough, right? Is what you said, like wet sand? Mm-hmm. Wet sand? Yeah,
so this mixture right here, you want to get, that's when you get to that point that it almost feels like wet sand, like barely damp sand.
Ooh, one of our viewers, Justin, asked, can you use lard?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you use butter?
You can. It'll taste like butter tortillas. The reason I think if it's your first time, I think shortening is a lot easier to work with.
Okay.
Because butter, it might melt a little bit, easier. Or faster with the hot water. So you have to be a little bit more careful with the butter. The lard works perfectly. It just adds the flavor of the lard.
Okay.
The pork to it. So definitely use that. And you want to make sure that all of your sides of the bowl, if there's any of that shortening sticking, make sure that everything is coming off. And you see that texture that we have now is more like, people call it sand, very like mealy. And I have my boiling water now.
I'm really quiet over here because I'm watching you like.
I know, like, is everything okay? Nobody's talking.
You're doing a really good, it's fascinating.
Okay, so I'm gonna get my boiling water. This is 3/4 of a cup. Literally boiling water. And there's a way to do it where you can like not touch the water directly, but you kind of just toss it around so that it starts. And there's, I think one of the reasons why they become soft is because since it's so hot, it just helps the flour and the gluten to start working together, and the shortening just get soft.
Yeah.
So you'll definitely see a difference if you were to use like the hotter the water, the easier the dough is to work with.
Okay. And
also the outcome of the tortillas. I grew up watching this every time. My mom has 12 sisters, so it would be like every Christmas, everybody around the table making tamales, and then throughout the years it will be like tortillas or making. My grandmother used to make me like mill the corn.
What?
To make the tamales.
I
She
love
had
this.
like the can openers that you attach to your table, but it's about this big.
Yeah.
You put the maíz in it, the corn, and you just mill it, and you get the masa out of it. So that's what you would use for your tamales, and it was just the freshest like corn masa. It was just the best thing ever. So good.
So you couldn't see your own face when you said that, but it like lit up when you were talking about that. I love that.
That's a story I tell a lot because that's like food brings a lot of memories.
Of course.
I think. And the scents and like just the things like that we do and that we grew up with, like, so something that's very special. And I share these stories with my customers like often, and it's just something like I grew up around food my whole life, and it's just I didn't know how blessed I was to be around the food. Like my grandmother would do tamales, my other grandma would do like tortillas a lot, and then my grandpa would grill like chickens in the market at the street. So in the front of his house porch, he had a big old cooler, and it would just be, when you walk into his house, it smelled like chicken because he just had a bunch of chickens like marinating.
Yeah.
We will help him make the marinade with like a bunch of cloves and orange juice and all these things.
Oh, really?
And it would be like the whole team. It's like a team sport. My mom's sisters, they were all the team that we would all help and make it happen. So it's just, it's beautiful that I always had the opportunity to be around it my whole life. And then I get to share it now. And
now you get to share that with other people. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're getting down to the last here, but make sure that your dough is pliable enough to work with. Once that way you can take it out of the bowl. And I'm gonna show you. You can take some of your stuff out of your hands of it, but you want to knead it, and the way you do it is kind of push with your palm and then pull it back with your fingers, and you're just working the dough. You're just working the dough until it becomes cohesive.
Okay.
And you see how you see the little it starts kind of ripping the dough.
Yeah.
That's how you know that it's not worked enough.
Okay.
Because it's not smooth.
Okay, so you just keep
So
going.
you want to keep just doing this until it becomes pliable enough, becomes smooth enough. So it took about 2-3 minutes. And another way to know it's whenever it starts to hold its shape a little bit more.
Okay.
You see how it pulls back when I do that?
It kind of
goes back
has
to the
spring.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you want it to be soft. And that's another thing that we have to do afterwards. For time's sake, I'm going to just pretend like it's done, because I do have some that are already ready to go in the comal. So once it's ready, this is still ripping apart, but you would, I like to go like this and make little balls that would, you can shape into little balls
Portion
of
them
dough.
out. So how many tortillas should we get from that big old hunk of dough?
I made a batch earlier and it made about 10,
Okay.
15, depending on how big you want. If you want to make
Okay.
them like burrito size, you can do a little bit bigger than this. If you want to do smaller, you can do like half of this.
Okay.
And this reminds me of making like dinner rolls. But you take a little ball, you push with your palm, you pull with your fingers, and you're going around. You're gonna create a C shape with your hand, and that's gonna create perfect dough ball. That is just, the smoother it is, the easier it is to work with.
Okay.
So you see, like I
Perfect.
said, this one is not rested all the way, so I still see all those little bumps. So I'm gonna move on to the ones that are already resting that I have here. And look how different it is from the ones that you don't rest from the ones that you do rest. I'm gonna get a little bit of flour, or a lot of flour. My little bit is different than a lot of people. But look how you see how it holds its shape more. Once you let it rest, it's gonna hold its shape to help you a little bit, roll it a little better.
Yeah.
So if I was to not let it rest, this will be just come back to the original shape. Or just close to it.
Same thing when you do like when you're making pie crust and stuff. Like after you like cut it and put it in the pie pan, you should chill it and let it cool for a little while. Let it just sit so everything relaxes.
Yeah. So it's the same same science.
Yeah. Same science.
I'm not a scientist, but I like to do plenty of flour so it doesn't stick. So I actually have my comal already preheated because I had to mess up a few tortillas to get to the perfect temperature. It's like pancakes.
Yeah.
You're going to have to mess up your first couple ones because you have to get to that right perfect temperature. So it's like a medium high heat in between, depending on your stove, depending on what you're using. I'm using a cast iron skillet. Today is perfect size. If you have, usually the comal, traditional comals are usually made with the same cast iron, so you can use that, or you can get a cast iron skillet from HEB if you need one.
Jose, we have a question from Connie. She wants to know how long it took you to perfect your tortilla making process.
Well, I wouldn't say it's perfect.
From where I'm sitting, it's pretty perfect, my friend.
I think just like watching, like
Yeah.
I didn't start making them obviously until I was an adult.
Okay.
Because when I was a kid, I was like, whatever, I just eat everything. I was a big kid. I would just eat all the tamales and all the tortillas. But I didn't start making them until I was an adult. And I think the more you do it, the more you get the feel. Like it's hard to explain sometimes about how you're supposed to feel it.
Yeah.
Until you make them. So don't be afraid to just, like I said, go in there, make a batch. It's only a few ingredients that you're using, so you're not gonna waste a whole bunch of stuff. So you see how this one holds its shape more, as opposed to if it was not rested. So this is what this is what you want to see when you're ready to roll them out. You want to see this beautiful little cake. So easy way to do it. You want to help yourself by making flat as you can,
like
so
a
that
disc?
way you get the shape right. So then easy. You're gonna go up once, down once, up once, down once. 45-degree angles. Up once, down once.
Look, they're round.
I mean, not 45. That's 90 degrees.
Yeah,
Right? I don't
it's
know.
okay.
I'm not a mathematician.
That's okay. I was with you. I saw what you did, and I was with it.
Yeah, well, you see how easy that was?
Yeah.
Just
Look,
literally two.
It's round.
But another thing is if it's not thin enough, it's not gonna be soft. It's not gonna be pliable. So you literally want to almost be able to see your fingers through the tortilla, almost like pasta. When you're making pasta,
Yes.
you want to make sure that it's as thin as you can.
Y'all, look, it's round. Mine look like Florida.
And that's okay. We should try to make some Texas shaped ones for HEB.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
See,
There's somebody out there in the world that can do it.
I'm down. But look, you see how big these are. These are like almost burrito size. So depending how big if I wanted to put these together, I can make a bigger one. So it just depends on how big you want it. But I have my preheated comal to the perfect temperature. I'm just trying to get this as thin as I can. You might not be able to see it on camera, but you can see my fingers through the dough almost. So I remember coming home and seeing all these tortillas just laid out on the counter like this, ready to be cooked. So I'm gonna go to my comal.
Ooh, and then are you gonna plate that birria for us?
Yeah.
I want to see those birria tacos.
Well, for time's sake, we are not gonna have time to wait for this one to be done. But I did make some ahead of time, and I already have it ready to go.
Okay.
Shred it up. Look at my tortilla.
Oh my gosh, look at it.
And when it starts to fluff up like that, all those air bubbles, and it starts creating all those little, kind of burn, that's gold right there.
That's gold.
That's like a little butter, a little salt.
Yes, that's my love language. That's my love language.
Yeah, you see how easy it was. But the main things are getting your temperature right on your comal, getting your dough rested. And after that, you're good to go. But I have some tortillas here that I made ahead of time. And we're going to plate them. So like I said, usually the birria tacos are served with corn tortillas, which you can find at HEB. You can take some of the liquid that comes out of the meat. And something that Chef Charlotte was mentioning is that whenever you let it sit, all the fat goes to the top and it separates. So that grease, let me stop moving. That grease is what you want to use to dip your tortillas. Once you have the corn tortillas with the birria in it, you dip them in that oil.
And you fry them up.
And then you like put it on the grill and it's just like crispy. And then the consomme is what we call the leftover juice that we have in here. And once the tacos are fried, you dip them in even more sauce.
Because and then also some of that salsa, right?
And then the salsa. And I'm gonna put it. Look, I grew up eating tacos out of a paper plate, but HEB has these beautiful like little things that help you. You can do little 3 taco, or you can do 2 by HEB. They're amazing.
I mean, that's fun for like Taco Tuesday. I'm here for it. I get it.
And look, it pours your taco perfectly. I'll take my other tortilla. And
so I've also seen like birria served like soup or stew style, like with like all that delicious consomme and then with like tortillas and some like veggies and stuff on the side.
Yeah, I would definitely think that you can add like some corn or like some garbanzos to it. That will make almost like a pozole, but with all that smoky flavor. It'll be so good. Look how big these tacos are.
Oh my God, they look so good.
They're amazing. And I have my salsa.
Yeah.
You can adjust the salsa to taste. If you need a little bit more salt. Some of my salsa with the consomme on the side. So that consomme has all your flavor too. So you serve it on the side and then you can add some while you're eating it. Like I did traditionally, you can dip it, just dunk it in there as much as you can, get all that grease off of it. And I'm just gonna put some limes here.
Perfect. I like that we did them in your homemade flour tortillas.
And it was so easy, right?
It was easy.
I mean, I make it look really easy, but
you do make everything.
You do it, whenever you do it, it's all about practice and having your temperature right, and you can do it too.
This is fantastic.
I hope these recipes work out for you guys for Cinco de Mayo or for your next Taco Tuesday. And I just want to say thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Chef Charlotte, for allowing me to be here today.
Thanks for sharing your stories.
I'll give this back.
I loved all your stories. I loved hearing that.
Thank you. I love sharing them. I love sharing my stories. Thank you. But if you guys didn't get to cook this with us today, it will be available on YouTube later, along with all the previous classes. If you're wondering what we're doing next, or what they're doing next, I don't know if I'm going to be invited back or not.
Of course, always.
You can see the next classes on heb.com/classes, and you can sign up for the next one. I know there's a Mother's Day coming up. I was looking through a Mother's Day and have some fun ones coming up, so make sure you guys check it out. So thank you again for joining us today, and I'll see you guys next time.